There are weapons that do not need to take off to be present in every decision. The B-2 does not exist to appear on screens. It exists to ensure the map never has to be redrawn. And today, as the United States itself begins to accept letting the B-2 leave the stage. In modern warfare, not every victory looks the same. Some victories are visible, maps change, targets are destroyed, numbers. Ladies and gentlemen, in modern warfare, not every victory looks the same. Some victories are visible, maps change, targets are destroyed, numbers are written into reports. But there are also victories that leave no clear trace, no images, no official statements, and sometimes even the citizens of the country that achieve them do not realize that a critical decision has just been made. The B-2 belongs to that kind of victory. For many years, it has not appeared often. It has not taken part in loud, high-profile campaigns. It has never been used to prove power to the public. Yet every time strategic planners sit down to calculate a worst-case scenario, the B-2 is always present in the room, not as a last resort, but as a variable that forces every other option to be reconsidered from the beginning. It exists to make the opponent ask a single question. If we take one more step forward, what happens next? It can go where people believe no one can go. For 30 years, the role of the B-2 has barely changed. The world around it has changed. Technology has changed. Adversaries have changed. But the logic behind the B-2's existence has not. Until, in 2024, the Pentagon released a statement that made many people stop and think. Damaged B-2s will no longer be repaired. No life extension. No restoration. No effort to preserve them at all costs. The first B-2 will begin retirement by the end of this year. It entered service in 1997, less than 30 years ago. Meanwhile, the B-52, a design from the last century, is planned to remain in service for nearly 100 years. That leads to a difficult question. If the B-2 is still powerful, still frightening, still a strategic obsession for many nations, then why is its creator the first to accept letting it go? The answer is not technology. It lies in how warfare itself has changed.
The primary mission of the B-2 is to conduct deep penetration strike missions into enemy territory, including precision attacks and the delivery of nuclear weapons. Its advanced flying wing design not only improves aerodynamic efficiency, but also significantly enhances stealth capability, while allowing the aircraft to carry an exceptionally large payload. This combination places the B-2 far ahead of most modern bomber platforms. According to the U.S. Air Force, the B-2 has a combat radius of approximately 11,000 kilometers. Due to its complex aerodynamics and the extremely strict requirement for a minimal radar cross-section, the B-2 relied heavily on computer-aided design and manufacturing, technologies that were still in their infancy at the time. On October 20th, 1981, after defeating Lockheed and Rockwell, the B-2 bomber development program was awarded to Northrop as the prime contractor, with Boeing, Hill Aircraft, General Electric Aviation, and Vought Aircraft as key partners. Boeing was responsible for the rear section of the wing, made of titanium alloy, the outer wing fuel system, the weapons release system, and the landing gear. To accomplish this task, Boeing expanded its workforce by more than 10,000 employees. Vought Aircraft handled the center wing section, aluminum titanium structures, and complex composite components. In 1997, the first 6 B-2 bombers officially entered service. Thanks to extensive system integration and computer-assisted design, the B-2 features a highly automated flight control system. Only 2 crew members are required, a pilot seated on the left and a mission commander on the right, who also serves as navigator. By comparison, the B-1B Lancer requires 4 crew members, while the B-52 Stratofortress needs as many as 5. Because of its high level of automation, in most real-world missions, a single pilot can technically control the entire aircraft. Nevertheless, for safety reasons, the U.S. Air Force mandates that 2 pilots be on board. This configuration allows the crew to maintain performance during extremely long-duration missions. Beyond its powerful radar stealth, which enables it to penetrate nearly any air defense network undetected, the B-2 also reduces infrared emissions, visible light signatures, and acoustic noise. Most of the B-2's airframe is built from composite materials that provide high structural strength, low weight, and strong radar absorption capability. Except for brief moments when the bomb bay doors are open, the B-2 is nearly invisible to modern radar systems. In theory, these characteristics should allow the B-2 to remain dominant for decades. For example, the F-22 Raptor, despite having ceased production, remains more than 2 decades later one of the world's most capable fighter aircraft. So why, less than 30 years after entering service, is the B-2 being pushed toward early retirement? The U.S. military is now moving quickly to retire the B-2. The B-2 bomber has many outstanding advantages, but it also carries serious weaknesses. The first is cost. Production and maintenance are extraordinarily expensive. Without the financial capacity of the United States, no country could afford to operate a machine like this. Of the 21 B-2 aircraft produced, the average cost per aircraft reached $2.13 billion. Material costs alone, including spare parts, upgrades, and software support, averaged $929 million, and by 2023 had risen to $1.11 billion. Because of its cost and symbolic value, the B-2 has almost no self-defense capability beyond stealth. It cannot be escorted by non-stealth fighter aircraft, as that would negate the entire purpose of its mission. If detected and attacked, the loss would not only be financial, but a major blow to U.S. strategic credibility. Worse still, if B-2 wreckage were recovered by an adversary, the risk of exposing stealth technology would be extremely high. Another major issue is fleet size. Only 20 aircraft exist, and in practice, only about half are mission-ready at any given time. In recent years, the B-2 fleet has suffered serious incidents. In September 2021, one aircraft was damaged during landing and required major repairs. In December 2022, another B-2 suffered an emergency landing, ran off the runway, and caught fire. The U.S. Air Force immediately grounded the entire B-2 fleet for inspection. With such a small force, any loss is critical. Losing even one aircraft significantly reduces America's strategic strike capacity. Typically, only 11 to 12 B-2S are deployable at any given time. In theory, the U.S. planned further upgrades, including improved radar-absorbing coatings. In reality, modifying a stealth aircraft is extremely risky. Every design element is tightly interconnected. A small change can ripple through the entire system. With so few aircraft available, upgrades become costly, risky, and operationally dangerous. Maintenance itself is a long-standing nightmare. The B-2's stealth coating is fragile and degrades in harsh environments. Every repair requires stripping the old coating, fixing internal structures, and reapplying multiple new layers. Any minor error can compromise stealth performance. On average, 1 hour of flight requires more than 40 hours of ground maintenance. This severely limits rapid deployment, sustained operations, and long-term readiness. In that context, the U.S. military was forced to look ahead, not emotionally, but through cold numbers. Today, the 3 strategic bombers in U.S. Air Force service, the B-1B, the B-52, and the B-2, all show clear limitations. They remain capable. They remain dangerous. But they were not designed for a battle space that is evolving faster than their own upgrade cycles. The B-52 is too old, the B-1B is too complex, and the B-2 is simply too expensive and too sensitive to be scaled effectively. The issue is not whether they are still powerful. The issue is whether they fit the way the United States intends to fight wars over the next 2 or 3 decades. That is why the B-21 Raider was not created to be a more powerful B-2. It was created to solve the problems the B-2 could never fix. The B-21 program officially began in 2016. In November 2023, the first aircraft conducted its maiden flight, only 7 years from launch to first flight, an unusually fast timeline for a strategic bomber. This speed reflects a new Pentagon priority: avoid prolonged development, avoid chasing absolute perfection, and focus instead on real-world deployability. Initial orders have already exceeded 100 aircraft. That number carries more than military meaning. It is a strategic signal. The United States no longer wants a symbolic weapon. It wants a system that can be sustained, maintained, and used over time. Visually, the B-21 closely resembles the B-2. The flying wing design, the blended body, and the overall stealth philosophy clearly show their shared lineage. But this resemblance is not simple duplication. It is selective inheritance. Because the history of the B-2 offers a costly lesson. As early as 1978, projected costs for the B-2 already reached hundreds of billions of dollars. By the late 1990s, just 20 aircraft had consumed over $450 billion, including operations and maintenance. With the B-21, the Pentagon understands that without strict cost control from the beginning, history will repeat itself. In 2019, the total B-21 program cost was estimated at over $200 billion. Within just a few years, that figure climbed significantly higher. As a result, the U.S. military imposed a firm requirement. The operating and maintenance costs of the B-21 must be significantly lower than those of the B-2. Not only cheaper to buy, but cheaper to sustain throughout its entire life cycle. This pressure has caused visible frustration among contractors who openly admit that the B-21 is not a highly profitable program. But for the U.S. military, profit is not the objective. Maintaining long-term strategic advantage in a game with new rules is. When people first look at the B-21, many reach a simple conclusion. It is weaker than the B-2. Smaller, lighter, fewer engines, lower payload, shorter range. But this is not a design flaw. It is a deliberate choice. With the B-21, the U.S. Air Force is no longer chasing maximum technical performance. Instead, it intentionally abandoned peak specifications in exchange for something more important, long-term sustainability in war. Compared to the B-2, the B-21 is significantly smaller. This means less fuel capacity, reduced weapons payload, and only one internal bomb bay instead of two. On paper, this looks like a downgrade. In real-world operations, it dramatically reduces structural weight, mechanical complexity, and most critically, maintenance costs. The B-21 also uses fewer engines. Fewer engines mean fewer failure points, fewer spare parts to stock, and fewer maintenance hours after each sortie. With the B-2, every flight hour can generate dozens of ground maintenance hours. That is the price of pursuing near-perfect stealth. The B-21 does not follow that path. Rather than chasing absolute stealth at any cost, the B-21 is designed to achieve sufficient stealth for modern warfare. This allows its radar-absorbing materials to be simpler, easier to repair, and less sensitive to weather, temperature, and humidity. Another critical shift lies in system integration philosophy. The B-2 was developed during the early era of digital design, when hardware and software were not optimized for continuous upgrades. By contrast, the B-21 was built from the outset with an open architecture. This enables upgrades to sensors, software, and weapons without redesigning the entire aircraft. In other words, the B-21 accepts lower initial performance in exchange for long-term adaptability. It is not a weapon designed to shock the world on day one, but a platform that can evolve over time. This intentional performance reduction allows the B-21 to be produced in larger numbers, deployed more widely, and used more frequently without collapsing the defense budget. The B-21 was not designed to become a legend like the B-2. It was designed to become the backbone of U.S. strategic warfare for decades to come. The design shift seen in the B-21 is not an isolated decision. It reflects a broader reality. The rules of modern warfare have changed. In the past, strategic advantage was often determined by a small number of overwhelmingly superior weapons. A single platform powerful enough could dominate an entire system. The B-2 was born in that context. Today, however, war no longer operates under the logic of a single decisive strike. It has become a prolonged, multi-layered, and continuously attritional process. In such an environment, maximum performance is no longer the ultimate advantage. The ability to sustain operational tempo has become the decisive factor. An aircraft, no matter how powerful, if it can only deploy sparingly, is constrained by complex maintenance, and creates strategic crises when incidents occur, will see its strategic value decline over time. Modern air defense systems have also reshaped warfare. Multi-band radars, passive sensors, satellite surveillance, and networked data systems make absolute stealth increasingly difficult to sustain indefinitely. In this context, concentrating massive resources into a small number of perfect platforms becomes a strategic risk. Even if the enemy cannot shoot you down, they can still force you to weaken yourself through cost pressure, maintenance burdens, and readiness constraints. Modern warfare is not only a contest of firepower, it is a battle of supply chains, industrial capacity, and force rotation. A weapons system is only truly powerful when it can be produced, operated, and sustained over long periods of time. This is why the U.S. Air Force has gradually shifted focus from symbolic weapons to operational ecosystems. The B-21 is not expected to solve every scenario in a single strike. It is designed to function as part of a larger network, connected to satellites, unmanned systems, next-generation fighters, and digital command structures. Within that network, the B-21's role is not to be the most powerful, but the most reliable. And in modern warfare, reliability often determines victory. The decision to retire the B-2 is not driven by technological obsolescence. It is driven by how the U.S. military now evaluates future risk. The B-2 remains an extremely dangerous platform. No nation can afford to underestimate its penetration and strike capability. But that very fact has turned the B-2 into a concentrated point of risk. When a system is too expensive, too rare, and too symbolic, every decision surrounding it becomes heavier. Each sortie is no longer just a mission, but a political, financial, and strategic calculation. In modern warfare, the most dangerous weapons are not the weak ones, but those that make their owners hesitate to use them. A platform only retains real value when it can be deployed without triggering a strategic crisis if something goes wrong. With the B-2, every accident does not merely reduce fleet size, it shakes the entire structure of strategic deterrence. With only 20 aircraft in existence, losing one means losing a significant portion of capability. That is a level of risk the U.S. military is no longer willing to accept. The B-2 was also designed for an era when the United States held overwhelming superiority in technology and budget. That era is gradually closing. Today, the U.S. must distribute resources across multiple theaters simultaneously, while adversaries seek to prolong conflict and exhaust endurance. In that context, maintaining an expensive symbol is no longer a rational choice. Retiring the B-2 is not a surrender of power, but a release of strategic space for the next generation. The B-21 does not carry the weight of a legend. It is built to operate more frequently, more flexibly, and with lower acceptable risk. The U.S. military understands this. No matter how perfect a weapon may be, it cannot endure indefinitely if it no longer fits the way wars are actually fought. And the B-2, though still feared, belongs to an era that is coming to a close. The story of the B-2 is not the story of an obsolete weapon. It is the story of the limits of absolute power. The B-2 fulfilled exactly the role it was built for, forcing adversaries to reconsider before crossing critical thresholds. For 3 decades, its mere existence was enough to deter. But modern warfare is no longer decided by the most perfect weapons, but by systems that can endure the longest. When sustainment costs begin to outweigh deterrent value, when every deployment carries political and strategic risk, power itself becomes a liability. The U.S. military did not abandon the B-2 because it became weak. They abandoned it because they understand that strategic advantage does not lie at the peak, but in sustainability. The B-21 is not meant to replace the B-2 as a symbol. It replaces the B-2 as a way of thinking. From a weapon that terrifies the world to a weapon the U.S. can employ regularly without hurting itself. That is the shift from performative power to sustainable power, and that is the ultimate lesson of the B-2. In modern warfare, the most dangerous weapon is not the strongest one, but the one best aligned with a game whose rules have already changed.
If you find this content helpful and valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. My name is Hai.
See you next time.